Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am working in my sketchbook and we are going to do some easy flowers that are just fun to do and beginner friendly. If we haven't met, I'm Viv. This is Art with Viv. And the first thing I'm doing is I've just mixed up a nice rose color paint. And I'm just doing some blobs in the shape of a flower. I'm just doing like some petals. I'm not making them even. I don't even care how they look. They're just sloppy petals. And I am pretending that I have a center and I'm just sort of almost like a starfish with extra legs. I'm just making a bunch of just marks around that center and just letting it be blobby. I don't even care. I've got some coral there. I mixed a little bit of yellow with my pink. Now I've just got some yellow with just a touch of the pink in there. Whatever pink was left on my brush, I don't even care. This is just such a simple exercise. It's so relaxing, but it will help you loosen up. And trust me, this is going to look pretty when we're finished. Now notice on those last two flowers, the orange flower and the yellow flower, I left the center of it white. And also notice that I'm just doing sort of raggedy brush marks around that center. I'm not trying to get fancy with it. I'm not trying to get frou-frou. No panties in the wad. You know I don't like getting my panties in a wad. With this big old butt of mine, if we got my panties in a wad, we'd have to send in a search party. Anyway, back to the painting. So I'm just doing lots of little blobs, just sort of petal shapes. This flower down here at the bottom, it's kind of a yellowy orange, and I've got it looking kind of down to the side. It's not opened up toward the viewer. I mixed in like a really nice green. It's a little bit of sap green, a little bit of yellow maybe. I don't even remember what I put in it. And we are just doing leaf-shaped blobs. They don't have to be perfect. This is not about being perfect. This is about loosening up and just getting into a nice relaxed state. Notice some of that pink did bleed down into my green. All I did was I dried off my brush and just picked it up and wiped it onto that excess color onto my paper towel. So if they do bleed and you don't like the bleed, just dry your brush off and just pick that up and just dab it on your paper towel and go on about your business. Or let them bleed and don't worry about it. It's totally up to you. Now I also mixed in some blue-green, like some aqua blue-green into my brighter yellowier green, and I'm just dropping it into some of the areas. And I am sorry, I did not realize that I did not have the top portion being videoed, but it's the same exact technique throughout all the flowers, all the leaves. We're just doing leaf shapes. We're dropping in a little bit of color here and there. Then we let it completely dry. Before you do this step, let it dry. Then get a nice waterproof pen, black fine liner, whatever Sharpie, whatever pen that is black that you have, and just start doing designs in the center. This one I just did some little circles, and then I drew some little radiating lines out from those circles and put little dots at the end of those. These are just made up flowers. Again, this is just meant to sort of loosen you up. It's a good sketchbook exercise, and I thought it would be great for some of my beginners. Now I am just outlining those flowers. I'm being really messy about it, and I'm not doing it just once. I'm going around and around and overlapping. I'm even going outside of the edges of that pink and kind of capturing some of the white background in there. It's up to you. You can even use a thicker marker or a thicker black liner, whatever you want to make those even heavier. It'll look even prettier. And then around the center, I just did some hatch marks, just some little lines on each petal to darken up around that center area. Now I'm just doing some like fringes, just long, narrow type, almost ovals, pointy ovals for the center of this one. And I am just letting that go over that white area. And then I'm doing the same thing. I'm just outlining those petal shapes, those blobs, and I'm going around a couple of times, going around each petal. Then I just put in a few little marks for shading right around that center. We're going to come to this other one. We're going to about do the same thing. This time I'm just doing like little squiggly marks in the center. You can do whatever you want, experiment. This is a great, like I said, great sketchbook exercise, and a good exercise just to get yourself loosened up. And at the end, you'll still have a really pretty piece of art. Again, around each one of those petals, I just go around and around each one a couple of times. I do wish that I had used a little bit thicker of a fine liner. I'm not sure what size this is that I used. I think it was like a 3 maybe. But I wished I had went all the way up to like the size 8 is my fattest one in this type of marker. So I'm just going around those petals, catching some of the white, going off onto the background. I'm not being really careful with it. And I'm outlining those a couple of times, letting those black lines sort of intersect with each other. And now I'm just darkening around the center again, just doing little dark lines and then pulling some of those out toward the center of the petals. Again, it's up to you how you want to do it. And already you can see that it is starting to look really pretty, or at least I think it looks pretty. If this isn't your cup of tea, then hey, don't do this. But I think it's a great exercise just to loosen you up in your sketchbook. Now this one I'm just doing like little radiating dots. I did a few circles in the center. I'm just outlining those petals. Doing exercises like this, it just helps you loosen up, become more creative. You don't have that constant pressure of perfection on you. We don't like perfection. We're just making blob flowers, outlining them, and making them just as pretty as we want, as shaded as we want. And we're not even worrying about it. We're just going with our artistic instincts. I always tell you to trust your artistic instincts, and this is really a good exercise for that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on those leaf shapes. And again, I'm just going around them. I'm even getting some of that white background in there. Maybe do a few veins, totally up to you. Do a few little hatch marks or just little lines for some texture. Again, totally up to you. So this is really a good exercise for just loosening up. So I hope you do try it out. But again, if it's not your cup of tea, I understand. One thing I will give you a little tip on, go back. I didn't do that to this one, but go back with a thicker, dark black pen. Just go back with a thicker pen in some areas and thicken up some of those lines. Not the whole thing, just some strategic areas, and you'll find that will make it look even more elevated. So we are getting close to being finished. I'm just outlining, just putting a few little shading on each little petal of this pink flower here. And we're just going to go ahead. We're going to make this blob into 2 leaves, I've decided, and just do that center vein and a few little offshoot veins. Same with these. We'll just make that into 2 leaves, put a little center vein, a few offset veins, and there you have it. This is just a great little exercise. I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.